right, good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, June 20th, 2014, and this is Before the First Cup with Jules, Zoria, and Lady Pitbull on UCY.TV. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Hi.
Happy Friday.
Yay.
Made it.
We did make it. I can't believe it. Where's all the time going?
I don't know. The days are just being sucked into a vortex somewhere.
They are. It's crazy.
I look back and, especially if I'm looking through videos, I'll tell you what does it is the most viewed, because I watch every single one of them, and as I'm flipping through these, I'm like, what? I'll look once a week or so to see if anything else went, viral or whatever, and I'm like, that was 5 weeks ago?
Oh, jeez.
It just seems like it was 3 days ago, like literally,
I know.
And that's happening a lot lately, and it's like, man, time is just whipping right by.
Well, because I think your interests are being pulled in so many directions. Time just like, there isn't enough time to cover it all, and so you lose that, I don't know, that feeling of relaxing when you would realize time seems to slow down. You don't have that.
Yeah. It's nuts. I'm going to tell you, that's all I know, is that it's totally crazy. I can't believe, tomorrow is the first day of summer already. I just...
Sure is.
Geez.
Summer solstice.
Crazy.
We're going to cool down to a cool 97.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
Does anyone actually know what the time is that the solstice comes in?
No.
Google. Let's find it. We should actually do Google contests so you could do it faster. Everybody's search speed up. If my fingers moved quickly first thing in the morning, I would win. But
right, you totally would.
My knuckles are like, I don't know, as I'm getting older, this has just been happening over the last 6 months or so, but every morning when I wake up, I feel like I've been punching a wall or something before I went to bed because my knuckles literally are so sore. I think it's because I'm on the damn keyboard so much.
Yeah.
Saturday, June 21st at 6:51 a.m. EDT.
Oh, good. So early tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Yay.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it takes my knuckles a little while to grease up before they're all right to type fast.
Yeah, just think how much you use your fingers they're well exercised, that's for sure.
They're never off the keyboard.
Right.
Until, I pass out, which is usually pretty late.
Good candidate for carpal tunnel.
I already have that, but if you keep your arms properly, you can control it. But I would say, unless it's absolutely you're gonna die, don't get that surgery.
Oh, I wouldn't.
I know a few people who have. Don't get that surgery.
Ugh.
I controlled mine with vitamin B6 through this doctor I was seeing, and I've never had a problem with it again.
You what?
He had me take vitamin B6, but you take it up to a pretty high level, so you want to do it with a doctor's guidance. And right up to the top, I think I got up to 150 milligrams a day. But within, I'd say 2 months, 3 months, it was gone. And I've never had a problem with it since. And I used to have to wear braces to bed every night that held my hands in place. But, you don't want to do it on your own because it can get real toxic.
Yeah, bees you can get toxicities from, so you don't want to do that alone.
Right, you want to do it under a doctor's care, but, if you have it real bad, I would talk to my doctor about it because it worked for me. I've never had, and that was 15 years ago or so, and they wanted to do surgery on both wrists. I said, no way.
Well, I'll tell you, it's getting to the point where my left hand is always tingling, and my forearm, and I can't make it stop now, and I never had that before in this hand. When I was pregnant, I did in both hands really bad. And my right hand used to get the tingling, but after pregnancy, it went away. But Usually that means there's some sort of inflammation in that, I don't know what that tube's called, but all the nerves pass through that tube, and that inflames in there. And I did notice turmeric helps. Like I said, right? Turmeric helps everything for me.
I know.
But it's a big anti-inflammatory, and inflammation is the cause of many diseases. So that's why it's great to take it, and then let's just see where it sticks, right?
Yeah, everything
at least for me, it works great. Yes, everything you eat is orange.
Yes.
Anything orange is good, including squash flowers. Right?
Yay!
Oh, yeah. Those are good, too. I just picked some yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is for the birds, man. I mean, my hand is just like, you know.
Yeah.
And that really bugs me. I sit with it most of the time with, like, my elbow in my lap. Because I'm almost thinking it might be the chair, because I kind of lean on this one elbow. I don't know. Something's causing me.
Or it could be a nerve being pinched up, up in your shoulder.
Yeah, it's definitely not in my shoulder. It's between the elbow and the wrist.
But if a nerve is pinched in your shoulder, it goes down to there. Because I know a lot of times when my arms go numb, I have a friend that'll come over and massage and break up the knots that I get, from being on the keyboard all the time. And it can make your whole arm tingle. I don't know.
That's
but
true,
I know how to irritate.
actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's in my shoulder though. I mean, this has been kind of a progressing issue.
And it's so irritating. You want to do something in your hands, kind of like it feels weird. Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, this is different than when I was pregnant because I literally could not feel 4 of my 5 fingers in my right hand when I was pregnant.
God.
Yeah, that was weird because it was like you had dead meat on your hands the whole time. You just couldn't feel anything.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, like when you wake up and your arm's asleep or something, you just like...
Oh, it's worse than that, yeah. But I know it's from too much keyboarding. It's one of the side effects of being what do you want to call it? A computer junkie?
There you go.
I don't have anything to say, so go ahead.
Oh my goodness.
I'm trying to find a cup.
Let's see. I saw something couple of things kind of interesting, I guess.
The pot delivery app. Did you see that?
No way.
The pot delivery app is easy as ordering pizza.
No way. Are you kidding me?
It's a couple of university students developed it for like Washington and Colorado.
Damn. That's that's a great idea.
Sure is.
Jeez, man. Man, that would be a cool ass app to have.
Wait, you want it? You can. You can read through this while I'm doing the.
All right. There's also Japan wants to host Olympics alongside. Wait, Japan wants to host Olympics for robots alongside 2020 Summer Games. There's that too.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's probably part of the DARPA challenge. They already have that going on.
Yeah.
Probably going to just send them all over there. Since now, that whole DARPA... Here's the thing. When the DARPA challenge first started, it had nothing to do with Fukushima. But then, somehow, all of a sudden, they started changing history and telling everyone, every time they came out to tell you about the DARPA challenge, because it's all the university kids that are working on robots, that it was created and the robots are being designed to work on the nuclear reactors in Fukushima.
Right.
I was like, what? No, it wasn't.
Kidding.
It was never created for that. I mean, eventually they had said, well, hey, now that we got this DARPA challenge and all the robots that are being made in Japan can't handle the radiation, maybe we can use the DARPA challenge to help us come up with some ideas for Fukushima. But they literally, I mean, there was a whole bunch of clips, I'd say probably 4 or 5 months ago now, and in every one of the clips they were saying, and in every one of the stories that came out, they were saying that the whole DARPA Robotics Challenge was started to create robots to fight Fukushima.
Oh, jeez.
Well,
Wow.
That came out. That happened long before Fukushima. They first started talking about doing that. That robot challenge had been around. I don't remember off the top of my head, but at the time I researched the whole thing because I was like, "Am I going crazy or what?" I know they didn't create this to make robots to fight Fukushima. Right. But all of their literature said that that's why it was created.
Well, 1984 again, changed.
Yeah, it was, and I was not crazy. Two of my favorite things, well, three things that I will certainly pay a lot of attention to: robots, Fukushima, and DARPA.
Right.
I mean, those are three of my big things. So that's why I scratched my head and said, "No, how did I miss that?"
That's nuts.
Yeah, because they've been working on robots for years now, more longer than.
Well, yeah, and DARPA's been sponsoring stuff. I mean, this wasn't just started for Fukushima.
Right. No. Oh, no. Hell no.
But isn't it funny how now, after a couple of years, people will look back and that will be fact.
Mm-hmm. And all those university students will be able to tell their children that they worked on a robotics project that was designed specifically to help those poor people in Fukushima after that nuclear disaster.
Just think they've been doing that to us for probably forever, ever since there's been printed news out there.
No, I think it has been.
Yeah, big time. All right. I'll read this pot thing.
Yeah, that caught my attention just as I was going to bed last night.
That's interesting. New pot delivery phone app is as easy as ordering pizza. Oh, what do you know about that? Wonder if you can get pizza with pot on it. All right. Let's see. Two enterprising University of Washington students...
Or get pot and pizza.
There you go. There you go. Two enterprising University of Washington students have created a new phone app that lets people order marijuana delivery in the same way that they could call for a pizza. We're delivering green to make green. Of course you are. It's big green, man. Big bank. Seattle College students and Canary app creators Joshua Tillis and Mega Vakaria, sounds Finnish to me, told potential investors that a startup conference sponsored by TechCrunch, according to the Daily Mail, they all seem to like that, of course. Canary is a smartphone application that will allow medical marijuana card holders in Seattle and Denver to order different strains of cannabis from dispensaries and producers the company has partnered with. The amount a customer can order in ounces or grams depends on the state law, the app's website says. The easiest way we say it, that is, it's Uber for marijuana, Tullis said to KIRO-TV. Canary is an on-demand service that allows you to get cannabis delivered right to your doorstep. Vakaria elaborated. Legal cannabis users sign up and scan their medical marijuana IDs, which the company then verifies. We check, we do some double verification that is required of medical marijuana patients. They have to take a picture of the card and also present it upon arrival. Once the customer is verified, they are able to order from the companies that partner with Canary, who serves as a middleman between customer and store. The customer then sends out a courier who must also have a medical marijuana card, who brings the order to the customer. The company charges an extra 10-25% on top of the cost of the pot and gives the cut to the courier. Because of the exchange of money, the point of sale, happens at the brick and mortar dispensary. Canary complies with the current 1-502 rules and regulations in Washington. Tullis, a sophomore studying design, explained to GeekWire. The 19-year-old Washington Huskies plan to launch an app in July, which is the same time that the state is set to open recreational marijuana retail stores, allowing anyone over the age of 21 to buy pot. Delivery will be available 24/7 once the app launches, but the pair are taking their time to ensure that Canary operates legally first, GeekWire reported. The uncertainties are not in the technology. The technology has already been done before. The uncertainties are in the legality on the business side, Tullis said to KIRO. He and his partner hope that they can serve the recreational population when it becomes legal.
Where's this?
It's in Washington and Denver.
Yeah, but where's he talking about when it becomes legal?
Well, I think legal for the third middleman to do, for probably transporting. And because what if they get a lot of orders and they have a lot of pot in their car, way over an ounce? So there's going to have to be a lot.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because one person holding a card, obviously the courier has to have a card too, but they can only have, like, here in Michigan, it's like, I think up to...
maybe
ounce and a half, I think.
Yeah, so if you got 10 orders, you got 10 ounces. So they're going to have to make some contract, with
maybe a courier card or something.
Yeah,
something like that.
Like a chaperone. What is it?
Chaperone.
Not chaperone.
What do you do for a living? I'm a pot chauffeur. Yeah, chaperone.
Well, they have to
company it. And I make sure I keep it safe from pot ninjas.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing,
California.
Yeah, big
California, actually. There was a story last year, maybe the year before. I'm sure some of the listeners remember, because I know we covered it on WTF, but it was about the pot ninja. There was a courier in L.A. that got attacked by a ninja.
Yeah.
And had the medical marijuana that he was delivering stolen.
Wow. There we go.
So you're going to have marijuana insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. It does address the drivers here. It says Canary is also looking for drivers. They've poached some from car services like Uber and Lyft already. All drivers have to undergo background checks as well as having their medical marijuana cards. And I kind of skipped over some, but who cares? And if you get the munchies, well, Canary has you covered on that too. Our catalog includes popular food and drink items to satisfy your insatiable appetite. The site says, we've thought of everything.
Well, I've thought of even more. So let's get around the pot custodian license and do drone delivery.
There you go. Pot drone delivery, damn it.
With pizza on the side, I think it'd be a winner. I'd invest. Holy shit.
Pizza and pot cookies, baby.
Why not? P&P, Friday night.
That's right.
I risk going out and getting busted, because you're high and you want to get higher. Just call us.
Yeah.
Here we go. Pizza, pot cookies, and pot pop.
Oh, I saw the pot pop. Actually, there's a new... I just dropped it to my friend the other day. I'll have to look. I'll have to look on the Robin Freeland page. Hold on, I'm doing a coffee thing. There was some new pot beverage or pot food that they were launching that looked pretty incredible, and I thought it might have been pot coffee. Wake up, like drink and bake.
Yeah, no kidding. That would be a good name.
That's awesome.
I'll look in just a second. Just let me finish typing.
That's awesome! Oh my god!
I was like, man, I'm going to Colorado this year for sure.
That's awesome! Drink and bake. Fantastic! That sounds like something an alcoholic would do. They'll probably come out with pot infused. I know that they've got pot infused wine out there. I know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen that somewhere a long time ago.
Wow, that's weird though, because like pot and wine make you puke.
Yeah.
Or at least when if in my head I put out that diagram that I've created over the years about what combinations work and what don't, I would say wine and pot are probably two of the worst together. Not ones that I ever did. It makes spinning rooms and brings back memories of Mad Dog 2020.
Oh, God.
So, did you guys see? I really don't care for that Aura TV. Oh, Jesse Ventura's over there. I thought it would be great, and it's kind of like wah, 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 wah. But Jesse Ventura, then what's the old dude that used to be on CNN? He used to do interviews. So, Larry King.
Oh,
Larry King is now over there, and they just picked up William Shatner. So it's like the clutch of old dudes now, old alternative icons that are over there. But I just saw, I didn't know what William Shatner was going to do, and I just saw his new show is called something about tasting the wine in the brown bag wine tasting or something. So that might actually be pretty damn funny.
Your ripple.
And, I gotta say, for like as into himself as Shatner is, he is funnier than shit.
I would love to see him stoned on pot.
Yeah, well, you might get to see him on brown bag booze. He'll be showing up on YouTube.
This is
the hiccups.
Bill after. Oh man, that's
all right. We still have interrupted you with that pot story, have we not, or are we done?
Yeah, we're done. I read the last lines. I'm done.
All right, today's picture is a parking sign. It looks like with a frothy drawn cup of coffee in the middle, and it says "Coffee Addict." Underneath it, it says "Parking Only. Violators will be creamed."
All right, good play on words.
That's a good one.
All right, let me go to Robin Freeland, and we'll see if
Bill Shatner on Ripple.
Yeah, I thought that was quite an ingenious show name. I mean, I honestly don't know if that's what he's going to be doing on the show, but I was like, oh man, I could see that, Bill.
Yeah, that's just funny. Oh, that's an ingenious name, I guess. I don't know. Very inventive and very original.
All right, let me see.
Give him a thumbs up for originality.
I'm pretty sure it was pot coffee. And for sale in Colorado, of course. Oh, wait, speaking of medical marijuana, let's leave it to Cuomo. You know, Cuomo is just like batting fouls left and right. Actually, what is like the illegal bats besides fouls?
Oh man, I don't know.
What's the opposite of out of the park?
In the park.
Yeah, no. Like failure, utmost. Governor Cuomo rejects revamped medical marijuana bill. Cuomo said that the changes of the so-called Compassionate Care Act don't include a ban on smoking the drug and requires the program to be evaluated in 5 years. Now, hold on. We passed the SAFE Act overnight in the secret of everybody without any revisions in what, 2 days?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And so you got all freaking excited with your ton wagon how much Colorado was making in profit and passed an executive order. Do you remember that? That we were going to allow medical marijuana in New York State. I was like, how? What? Like Cuomo would actually do something like that, following, of course, Barry's lead for just inking executive orders when no one agrees with you.
Right.
So
Yes.
he inked an executive order to allow medical marijuana, and we were like, yay! Except again, they didn't think about it very carefully, And the next thing you hear is, oh, wait, we don't have a distribution system set up. Where are we going to get all that pot from? Like, oh, hey, you know what? We got all the stuff to confiscate off the street. Yeah, let's use that stuff. Oh, my God. So now this has been sitting in limbo. Nothing's happened. I know a lot of my parents' friends were highly interested. I mean, A, being baby boomers, but B, I mean, they all see the benefits, especially for different types of arthritis and major back problems. And, you know, I mean, just for quality of life, to be able to get around and not be in pain all the time.
Right.
You know? And so people were excited. So again, you lose, drop the ball, douchebag. I just can't. I hope he gets his ass tossed head first during the election. I cannot stand this dude. All right.
He will.
I hope so. Come on, people in New York. Lawmakers revised the measure late on Monday, just beating a deadline and setting up a possible vote by the end of the week. The regular session is scheduled to end Thursday, so I guess it ended this Thursday. I haven't seen, though, anything beyond this. We've made progress in the discussion, but we are not there yet. The Democrat told radio's Capitol Press Room on Tuesday the bill would legalize medical marijuana for severely ill patients. And, yeah, they restricted this to the point where hospitals are going to be dispensaries. I don't know. This just, it is, you know, it's just to give him something so he can go, but look, I did something good that the people liked.
Right, people will go think he's for cannabis, which he's not.
No, he's not at all. He's police state. And, you know, this is this very tiny experimental program that's so half-baked. And, I mean, why would you be treating severely ill patients with freaking street drugs? You know, you had no control over how that was grown or what fertilizers were put on it. So, you know, I was reading that they're going to have to now chemically test all this stuff and determine what strain stuff is and how strong it is and if there's chemicals in there. What a waste of freaking money. Why don't you just start a nice medical cannabis garden? You know what I mean? Or allow
people to grow their own up to so many plants.
Yeah.
Well, then, you know, because people that are dying don't have the energy to grow up because those are going to be the only ones that can use it.
Right.
Well, any self-respecting freaking governor would be able to look at other states that have implemented medical marijuana and realize, holy crap, man, these states are like suddenly dealing with surpluses in their budget. Wow.
Well, especially considering New York is such a tax suck.
Yeah.
And, I mean, honestly, I think it's us in California, right, Zori, that pay probably the most taxes. And I don't know. I mean, I don't pay a lot of attention to your internal government, but I do to ours. And we just have all kinds of waste, all kinds of empty jobs or shell jobs that, you know, someone of mention is given as like a sidekick job as a thank you that they're getting paid for. That stuff gets uncovered all the time. You know, or the $100,000 plow drivers on this budget.
Exactly.
You know, I want to get one of those licenses.
Or like a bill. I mean, their whole government, every one of them, all the way down to your trash collector, they didn't know how much they were paying their mayor, and he was making $100 and something thousand a year, you know, and then taking percentages off of all the crookedness. I mean, it was, people don't pay attention.
Yeah, where was that?
In Bell City in California. It happened a few months back. I mean, all of them, they were all involved. And it was just outrageous. They have millions and millions of dollars in taxes these people were just ripping off that whole city of people.
Well, I mean, it's happening in the entire country. We're all being ripped off. And they're taking our tax dollars and buying all kinds of incendiary devices to blow up children in other countries.
Yeah, and this one, too.
Yeah, well...
This is where we're the enemy, plain and simple. We are the enemy, and they are preparing for war.
Cuomo's just doing this crap so he can get reelected, you bastard.
Well, that's all it was about, and I mean, there really isn't much more. I'll read the last paragraph. The bill would legalize medical marijuana for severely ill patients. Among the changes made Monday were allowing only doctors to prescribe the drug, dropping 3 conditions for which medical marijuana could be prescribed: diabetes, lupus, and post-concussion syndrome, and doing away with an advisory panel that would oversee the program. What?
And why would you do that?
Yeah, why would you get rid of conditions that it could treat and get rid of the advisory panel? To tell you how much your program sucks?
Wow, that makes no sense at all.
That makes no sense at all.
Unbelievable.
Well, the
guy
last
doesn't
part's
have a
probably
brain
not
to
going to
think
be
of.
included in the campaign. You know?
Yeah.
Well, that sucks. Now you guys are screwed again.
Yeah, big time. Like he put, but you know what? Let's get him out of office. That's what I would rather see. I don't give two
Bingo.
shits, actually.
Yeah.
At least right now, a medical marijuana program can come along later when someone gets some freaking sense. You know, I did see, though, and I shared that on the Against the Wall page the one day. Let me get there. I do believe that hemp, though, they have posted they've passed a hemp bill, or we're in the process of it, to at least on an experimental basis, again, allow them in the universities to start growing some hemp to see what they could do with it. And in New York.
Interesting.
Wow.
In New York. Yeah, I was surprised because that was actually something that hadn't been on my radar at all. I know that they allow it now in Kentucky, Colorado, and California, correct? And maybe even Washington or Oregon. I know that they were talking about it.
Well,
But-
the problem is they brainwashed everyone so well that people just can't understand the difference between hemp and cannabis. You know, because hemp does not get you high. It's more for, for growing things and for making stuff. I mean, you can make so many things, almost anything you can think of can be made from hemp.
Yep. Here, I found the story. New York lawmakers pass hemp bill, receives only 2 no votes.
Wow.
Yay!
Great.
Both chambers of the New York legislature approved a bill Wednesday. This is from last week? The 12th. Yeah, this is from last week.
Yeah.
So this is 2 votes in a week on hemp and medical marijuana in New York. Cuomo must really be scared he's going to get thrown out head first.
Yeah.
He should be.
Oh, it's awesome. Both chambers of the New York legislature approved a bill on Wednesday. Hey, one other thing, though, that I haven't seen in any of these. I know people that don't live in New York, people who visited here get it, but people that don't live here sometimes don't realize, I've talked about this before, how New York City and the rest of New York are just so totally separate, opposite, nothing alike. Like, the whole state of New York is not buildings.
Right.
The whole state of New York is very green, and at the moment it's like rainforest green and lush with trees. Once you get into the southern part of New York, it's all the foothills of the mountains.
It's like California.
Yeah, a lot like California. Lots of rolling hills and just beautiful sceneries. And then you also have the Adirondacks and the Catskills up in the northeastern region, up on the other side of the Great Lakes. So you got all the mountains up there. But then head to the Thousand Islands, which is also awesome. With the
Perfect for hemp growing.
Yes, perfect for hemp growing. And lots of mosquitoes, so maybe you kill them. But I would be very curious, as they're passing all these laws for New York, I am not seeing any type of demarcation between New York City and upstate New York, like they do with guns especially. They have different rules for each.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's interesting.
But yeah, I just was thinking that. I haven't seen anything that says, well, in New York, you can't do any of this. New York City, meaning.
Right.
Like us in New York, when you talk about New York and you live in New York, you're talking New York City. You're not talking the rest of New York.
Yeah,
okay.
when I was back there, I stayed on Putnam Lake for 3 weeks with these friends, and beautiful. I mean, it was just so gorgeous there.
Putnam
You know,
Lake. Is that one of the Finger Lakes? No, that's
no.
that
Putnam
must
Lake.
be near to New York, right?
Well, no, yeah, it's about an hour and a half by train out of New York,
Mm-hmm.
but it's beautiful there.
Putnam County.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah, it's by Albany, I think.
I can't remember. It's been so long ago, but God, we had a ball out there.
Well, for comparison's sake, from Buffalo to New York City, it's about 8 hours on the train. So,
Okay, yeah, I think we took the train in one morning, and I think it just took us a little over an hour to get right into New York City.
Mhm.
And what a difference, man. Culture shock.
yeah, big time. Or for comparison's sake, now the train is fun. Heidi and I did it. Oh
I
my
love it.
God, probably 20 times. It would leave Buffalo at 6:30 in the morning, and you get to New York by like 2:30 in the afternoon. And a couple times we brought beer on the train with us.
We dropped acid. on the
Oh
train.
God!
Oh, have you seen all these people going to work reading the newspaper? Oh,
Now
God,
that's hysterical.
It is.
I mean,
Yeah,
just
so-
showing up in New York, like already been drunk, and then on the flip side, hungover, it kind of sucked. I couldn't imagine that.
Oh, we were peaking by the time we got to New York. I got lost in the subway, and I just stayed on.
Oh, yeah.
Found me.
That's probably not a good thing to do, especially if you don't know your way around
Oh,
New
no
York.
kidding. We went up to the Empire State Building, and from the top, I called everyone I knew collect in California. Go, guess where I am?
You called them all collect.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I'll
Oh,
tell you a
God.
story someday.
Oh, that is something. That is a trip I will never forget as long as I live. I mean, my view of New York City is a lot different than most people's. Like,
It's like an Andy Warhol painting.
That's funny. It's really beautiful there.
no, I just said there's a lot to laugh at in New York City.
There is, but you don't have to be tripping to laugh.
I mean,
I've seen some things that
oh,
make
geez.
you turn red. Embarrassment, just weird stuff. I had crazies chasing me, wanting to chop me up into little pieces. I think I told that story. Like a whole
That time
group
you
of
that
us.
guy shot, and you guys just got up and forgot.
Yeah, well, no, as we walked out of the building and we hear this pow, 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 and everyone hits the ground, and the guy sitting next to us against the wall, he's like, I've been shot.
Oh shit!
I picked it up and walked away.
And then we waddled to the pizza place next door.
I forgot all about
We
it.
were going out to get munchies. We were hungry. And yeah, we totally forgot about the dude who got shot.
We'll go get help for you. Just wait.
Oh, God. Yeah, New York is a weird place. And when you're there most of the time, especially if you're in any, like, fun state of mind, you're probably wasted almost the whole time you're there.
Right,
That
this
would be
kind of
so sad.
madness takes over, or this other person takes over when you get in New York City. I
Dude,
don't
that
know.
would be the last place I would want to take anything hallucinogenic whatsoever.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine in New York. I've never
No
done
freaking
anything like
way.
that in New York because, you know, it's so big and they're really New York. You always want to be on your toes. That's the one thing, you know, and it's going to be so much different now. I mean, back in the old day, you could
This
actually.
is in the 60s, too. You have to.
Right.
69, I think it was 69 when I was there. And so it's a lot different than now. I mean, now I would never do it there. But
But, like, even in the 80s, stuff was still cool in the 80s. You didn't have, like, all these X-ray laser beam.
Right.
And
And the cops didn't bother you back then either. Like
No, people smoked right on the street, like out in public, and nobody bothered you.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But I think now, I mean, there's cameras on everything, and they have all those, like, see-through X-ray radar things where they can actually, that was how they got around, even though it was considered unconstitutional for that stop and frisk, that was how they got around it, is that they had those new scanners that can see through your clothes.
and through your walls.
And through your walls, yeah. So
Yes.
they said, well, if we could scan you and see you don't have any firearms on you, then I guess that's all right.
Yeah, but now we can look and see if you have any drugs. Look at that little, look at
whatever.
that, all the
Carrying
little baggies in
we
there.
want. You know, a large amount of money in your purse. Well, we'll just go take that.
Yeah, oh yeah, they could probably read all the bank you have in your pocket.
Well, I'll tell you what. I saw something in the news a few days ago. Might have been an RT story where they were saying that be careful now going through an airport. I guess there have been a few instances where people, as they're going through the TSA search, have been questioned. I think it's actually when they're coming into the country, maybe, or maybe going into a state. I don't honestly remember all the details, but the people had checkbooks in their purse or their, in their wallets or whatever. Most women, I take my checkbook with me, and I'll tell you what, I pulled it out before. Every time it's ever come out of my purse, I've needed it, and I don't need it too often. So it was like a freak occurrence. I was like, all right, I better leave it in my purse. But,
right.
Because there's a potential for you to be able to write checks for whatever the balance is in your checking and your savings account. They have used that now, the TSA, as an excuse if they're looking and they find a checkbook and they're questioning for whatever reason to start getting balances out of you. Because that's potential spending money. I was like, are you kidding me? And, I had seen that when I went on my trip last year or the year before. They were talking about that as part of keeping things safe and making sure you weren't funding terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
Or dealing drugs.
Or whatever. Yeah, well, let's see. She's going to go on this trip, and she starts with $1,000 in her account. Hey, she came back, and there happens to be 10. Where'd that come from? Hey, IRS, let's start an investigation. I mean, I could see it leading to that point. And they even gave the IRS access to not only your bank records, but your book purchase records, your travel records, and all kinds of things like that to use as part of an investigation.
Well, and Obamacare gives the IRS permission to go in and take money out of your account.
It's very true.
Straight up. Yeah.
Right. Yet, when the American people want to see their account,
yes.
Yeah.
They shred the hard drives after the
security
incident.
Destroy.
Oh my God, the TSA sucks.
Here, I want to read this hemp story really quick.
Yes.
Wow, that was quite a right angle, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's easy to get there, though.
Anyway, okay, I'm going to start at the beginning again. Both chambers of the New York legislature approved a bill on Wednesday by near unanimous vote that allowed the cultivation of industrial hemp as part of an agricultural pilot program. New York is now the 16th state to do so. The bill, Senate Bill 7047, had been introduced earlier this year but never received consideration by the Committee on Agriculture where it was assigned. The bill was discharged from the committee on Tuesday and reassigned to the Senate Rules Committee, who advanced the bill to a third and final reading. The Senate then passed the bill by a vote of 56-2 early on Wednesday, sending the bill to the Assembly. Once in the Assembly, the bill moved quickly with SB 7047, replacing Assembly Bill 9140, which had already cleared several committees. Later in the day, the Assembly approved the bill on a unanimous vote, 130-0. The bill will now be transmitted to Governor Andrew Cuomo for his signature. So all it's waiting now on is Cuomo's signature. This bill positions New York State to take advantage of what will certainly become a new industry, said Assemblywoman Donna Lou Pardo of Binghamton, the bill's sponsor in the Assembly. And she said that in a statement to the media, not only will this allow us to begin researching potential uses for this lucrative crop, but also the potential for new manufacturing and markets across the state. And Lord knows New York needs help after you chased all the gun manufacturers and the steel manufacturers and whoever else, the car manufacturers, out of the state over the last 30 years. So that would be a very good thing. Once enacted into law, the bill will authorize the New York State Department of Agriculture to establish an industrial hemp pilot program to provide research-based knowledge that could be used by farmers and businesses to develop a successful hemp industry if federal authorization is granted. And I wonder if those are like some keywords there. If federal
You know,
law.
and all they have to do is get on the net and see that there's houses being built with hemp. There's clothes being made. I mean, every industry can make things
Sure
with
can.
it. Yeah.
And, I mean, I've listened to many, many, many shows where JJ has gone off about the virtues of hemp. And, I mean, it could make an entire economy. It could turn shit around. If we
You can make cars out of it, remember?
Yes, and
It
and
could
hemp
economically
cream-
save this country.
Sure could.
Fuel. You make fuel out of it. I mean, it's
Sure could.
unlimited, but how many uses it could be used for. But you still have to get past the brainwashing that they've done so well that people still think hemp gets you high and they will vote it down.
Right. Hemp does not get you high.
True. But you can't convince the people that have been so brainwashed that, I mean, you know, that's what stopped Ford from going in using hemp for making cars. It's because of the brainwashing. People can't get past it.
Oh, I didn't know that about Ford.
Yeah.
I remember it must have been, oh my goodness, around 1988. I am pretty certain that's when I used to hang out when I first met my buddies out of Long Island. A lot of people from New York City used to come to school in Buffalo because it was still an in-state university, so you got the in-state tuition, but it was a top university research college, UB. And so, you know, it was a great bang for the buck, and so that's where the kids from New York would come. So lots and lots of my friends were from pretty affluent households in Long Island. And I don't know, they were lots of fun. I'd never met people from Long Island before. That was before my sister moved to New York, so I had no experience with people from New York City. But we had some pretty big partiers that we hung out with in college, and so that was like the big Friday thing, was to go visit the guys, and there were 6 of them that all lived in this house, and they were all deadheads, and they all traveled across the country all summer with the dead. You know, because they didn't have to work like I did 3 jobs to pay for college. And anyway, so I remember one night we're all sitting around and we were pretty baked and we're watching TV and it was like out of a Twilight Zone episode as Juan Valdez, and I don't think it was Juan, but it was someone who looked and sounded a lot like Juan, was doing a commercial for Acapulco Gold. And it was literally, it was a Marlboro commercial. They had already, and this was 1988. I distinctly remember the year. They came out with a package that looked just like Marlboro Reds, except with the big gold pot leaf on the front of it. And it was like a mock-up commercial, and it had been at the federal level, and it was actually pretty close, I think. There was a lot of hope at that time that they were going to pass marijuana legality at a federal level, but it failed.
Wow, I bet you that you could find that in the YouTube somewhere.
I've looked for it. I've looked at it. I haven't found it. And I'll tell you what, this is how I know it was real, because when the commercial was over, the room was silent. And then we all turned and looked at each other. We're like,
did we
just
see that?
have a group hallucination? What the hell is that?
Group hallucination.
It was messed up. But we all thought we had imagined it. And then until we looked at each other, we're like, oh my God, that was on TV.
We all saw that. We did.
We all saw it. We really did.
You know, late at night, you see a lot of things on TV you would never see during regular hours. Off-the-wall commercials.
Yeah, I don't watch TV anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't either.
Fortunately.
Yeah. You know, they catered to that person that they knew was high in the middle of the night, couldn't sleep or whatever, or they're stoned. You know, they catered to that person because you'd see some weird shit late at night.
Well, now it's going to be the munchy drone deliveries.
Yeah. That's
the only way drones are going to be okay in one respect in my book, is if they start doing late night pizza delivery.
With pot.
Well, it doesn't have to be with pot. I just know that if I have a few brews or something at about 2 a.m., I start craving a pizza. Huh?
I like tacos after I've been drinking a little bit. I love tacos.
Yeah.
would be good. Food delivery.
I could see it happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, let me read a little bit more. Blah, 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 blah. So it passed. It's waiting on signature from Cuomo. Once enacted into law, the bill will authorize New York State Department of Agriculture to establish an industrial hemp pilot program to provide research-based knowledge that can be used by farmers and businesses to develop a successful hemp industry if federal authorization is granted. Universities would also be allowed to grow hemp for research purposes. While large-scale industrial hemp cultivation remains prohibited under federal law, the Farm Bill approved by Congress and signed by Obama earlier this year, and there was also all kinds of appropriations for Monsanto in there, I believe, wasn't there? I remember, and there were some other things that were pretty unsavory in that bill. Allows states to sponsor industrial hemp research programs absent federal reclassification of the plant. So the plant is still classified as a schedule. I mean, I don't know. Does anybody know industrial?
I don't think hemp is a Schedule 1 because there are no drugs in it. But, it's just the brainwashing of people. But I don't really, I don't know for sure what the law is against hemp. But it's not a Schedule 1. Only marijuana is.
Well, it's in the cannabis family, so...
Right, but it's still not... You don't get arrested for hemp and have it classified as a Schedule 1. I don't know what the schedule is for it, but it's not listed.
DEA's mind, it's Schedule 1.
Well, search it on Google.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the easiest way. Move your fingers. I'm going to have a clicky noise sound, then I'm going to hit the wave. I was just reading something not too long ago. I've spoken before about the discovery of craft brewers and how amazing they are. And there's this one that, I don't know, it was when I was trying the Belgian stuff. And I'm not too crazy about the Belgian hops, but it's like Doofen. I always make fun of the name because I can't pronounce it, but I call it like Doofenschlüffel. And on the front of the bottle is this gnome, like, the garden gnomes. He's got a little red hat on, and he's kind of squatting, and in front of him is a clothesline, and then there's this big hop bud hanging off of it, drying, and it looks like a gnome taking a dump with the pot forced, like, all the pot drying out on the clothesline. And I was like, wow, what is that? Is that a bud? And it's like, no, it's hops. I was like, why does hops look like buds? So I go into Wikipedia. Did you know that they are absolutely 100% related?
Hey, are they in the same
They're
cannabis?
in the same family. If you look, and one doesn't have the psychoactive properties, obviously, than the other, but they are from the same family.
That's awesome.
I didn't know that, but I was like,
they
they look so much alike.
They do. It's true. There's 25. Let's see. There's 13 states, I guess, right? That.
Thought they just said 16. New York is 16th. Yep.
So since April 29, 2014, because I brought up this article about which states it actually was. I had that question, so I brought it up. And since April, though, then a few more have been added to this list, so that's cool. New York being one of them.
Right, and Kentucky being another. And I don't remember.
And so that's why I brought it up. California, Colorado, Hawaii, Indiana, Kentucky, Maine, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, which is good news for the Lakota people, because they've been trying to do this shit for years. Oregon, Utah, Vermont, and West Virginia now allow industrial hemp farming for research and or commercial purposes, which is totally awesome.
Now, the Lakota, isn't that where they just had the big oil boom?
Yes.
Up in North Dakota, see? And so I've read a whole bunch of stuff about that the Mexican drug cartel is using the reservation. I guess there's some pipeline now that they're running stuff from Mexico up to North Dakota
Whoa,
that is not good. As major drug gang activity now is moved in. So,
God.
and I've heard that. I've read stuff, and I've actually heard stuff from people who know people who know people. You know what I mean? And it's not good. It's not good.
So they're starting to take over the reses up in there?
Yeah. Yep.
My God.
It's not good.
No, hemp is a Schedule 1.
Now, come on. It's ditch
Really?
weed. You can't even smoke it.
Okay, if you tried to smoke one of those giant industrial freaking garbage bags full of it, you would get nothing but a freaking headache and
yeah.
puke. You know what I mean?
And your lungs would hurt.
Yes.
You won't get high, dude.
It's
I
a
knew it was
Schedule 1?
I knew it.
What a bunch of idiots.
That's what I said. The DEA's mine. Well, there you go, guys.
What a bunch of idiots.
It is as a Schedule 1 drug under Controlled Substances Act, making it illegal to grow without a license from, and they used to be able to grow hemp, but you had to have a state license or a federal license.
Well, way back they didn't even know. You know, back in the days of the Founding Fathers where they started the whole country using hemp.
That's right.
Here it says U.S. alone classifies hemp as a drug. Today, the U.S. is the only developed country that has not established hemp as an agricultural crop. According to the Congressional Research Service, Britain lifted a similar ban in 1993, and Germany and Canada followed suit soon after. The European Union has subsidized hemp production since the 1990s. We are the only country that still classifies it as a drug.
We're really stupid.
The UN vehemently opposes this, too.
Do they?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah. They hate marijuana. They hate hemp.
They were pissed at Uruguay, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
And at Colorado. I mean, at one point, there was some discussion about the UN stepping in and nullifying the Colorado vote when that first happened. I was like, since when? I mean, that was voted on by the people in one of our United States. How could the UN come in and nullify a state law? You know what I mean?
We need to get the UN out of the U.S. and the U.S. out of the UN.
Yeah, good thinking.
Oh, my God. Don't even get me started. Thank you.
If you guys want to drop those stories in the chat showing the Schedule 1 and showing the states, that would be good. Yeah, I didn't know it was a Schedule 1. I want to share that on the Robin Freeland page because that's pretty ridiculous.
My freaking mouse took a bite.
You know, I'll tell you what, I think that's a bug. That's been happening to a lot of us. Like, all of a sudden, your mouse stops working or your right click.
Yeah, dude, what's up with that?
Or your copy-paste doesn't work anymore. Use your control insert, shift insert if your mouse doesn't let you copy-paste anymore.
Okay, I put it in our chat, in our Skype, and you can put it in it because I have my chat room on another computer. And I can't get
me
it.
too. You put it in the Skype that I'm not on.
Wendy could do it.
I just do my voice from here.
Yeah.
Hey, Wendy, did you see? I ran through some news late last night as I was waiting for the rest of the video uploads to go up, and there was a story about Detroit that I was like, what on earth is going on? Speaking of the UN, groups appeal to the UN for humanity. Now, we always know what happens when groups appeal to the UN for humanity or humanitarian purposes, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's right. Groups appeal to UN for quote-unquote humanity as Detroit shuts off water to thousands.
Wow, I haven't heard this.
By denying water service to thousands, Detroit is violating the human right to water, quote unquote. As thousands of people in Detroit go without water, the city moves to cut off services to 10,000 more. Concerned organizations have taken the unusual steps of appealing to the United Nations to intervene and protect the human right to water. Detroit?
What?
That's crazy.
Decades of policies that put businesses and profits ahead of the public good, the city now has a major crisis on its hands, says Maud Barlow, founder of the Blue Planet Project and board chair of Food and Water Watch, she said in a statement, by denying water service to thousands, Detroit is violating the human right to water. The submission to the special rapporteur was released Wednesday by the Detroit People's Water Board, the Blue Planet Project, the Michigan Welfare Rights Organization, and the Food and Water Watch. It calls for, quote, the state of Michigan and the U.S. government to respect the human right to water and sanitation, and for shutoffs to be halted, services restored, and water to be made accessible and affordable. So I'm wondering if this is for people who maybe didn't pay their bill. I don't know the rest of this. The report comes on the heels of Detroit City Council's Tuesday approval of an 8.7% increase in water rates, part of a long-standing trend that, according to Food and Water Watch, has seen prices increase 119% for water over the last decade. The hike follows an announcement in March by the Detroit Water and Sewage Department that it would start turning off water for accounts that are past due. According to late May director's report, there were 42,273 shutoff notices sent to customers in April 2014 alone. 44,000.
That's amazing.
Resulting in 3,025 shutoffs for non-payment and an additional collection of $400,000. Emergency manager Kevin Orr, and remember when we had that interview with with Reverend Pinkney on Madison's show, he had talked about the emergency managers taking over and how corrupt all that is. If you remember,
yes, I remember that.
Emergency manager Kevin Orr, who was appointed to power by Michigan Governor Rick Snyder back in March 2013, has aggressively pursued privatization and austerity measures across the city. Nothing is off the chopping block, including the water utilities, which are being considered for regionalization, sale, lease, and or public-private partnership, and are currently subject to mediation by a federal district judge. You know, if you remember, too, Reverend Pinkney was talking about how when Detroit is being taken over by all of these multinational corporations buying stuff up, right, they're letting it all degrade. Yes. Then they're letting it be bought up on pennies on the dollar, and the water was the one big thing that they were after.
Yeah, Detroit has a real nice river running right next to it.
Yeah, and has a real nice Great Lake, too.
Mm-hmm. Just where they get all that water that they supply the metro area. Metro area meaning like other counties around Wayne County, which is like highly populated.
Yeah, and think about how much profits you can make if that was all privatized.
Oh, yeah. You could jack them water prices way up. That's insane, the water prices they have to pay. Shit.
Well, they did that here, too. What was it, last month? Everybody's bill just almost tripled. But, man, they had emergency meetings on that.
For water?
For water.
I mean, they did that here for electricity rates this winter. Mine more than doubled. I think I mentioned that at the time for 2 months in a row, as well as my dad's. I mean, in Buffalo, it's totally separate. We're different power companies and whatever, and they blamed the cold.
Yeah, you know, we have the Sacramento River. I mean, we have all this water going right through our town, and then they tripled water prices, and they're still going through that, and they're going to get the prices. Get those people they're revamping their price rates to bill them because people just weren't having it here. You know, it's crazy. They'll do what they can. They will do to you what you allow them to do. And if you don't get in there and make a big stink, don't think you're the only one that's there. You know, go anyway because they're going to, now they're saying, oh, it was a mistake in the billing or something, but, you know, they tried to get away with it.
Well, I think that we're going to see this more and more. I mean, water is one of those resources that, you know, back when I was, it must have been 89, so it must have been early 20s, my dad and I would sit around and have very long discussions about this stuff, and I told him back then that I thought water was going to be where the profit would come because it's polluted. I mean, even back in the 80s, you know, talking about being a greenie yesterday, I saw a lot of that coming. And where are you going to get fresh water from? And even if, like the end-all game was desalinization of ocean water, well, look at that. That's kind of roach now, too, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. I mean, look, though. I mean, the price of
your water from China.
The price of water, no.
They're getting it from
us.
I know they are, but then when
Lake
they've
Michigan.
taken it all, then they're going to charge us to ship it back to us.
Right. Well,
yeah, they're storing it all.
Yeah, they're going to reprocess it there, like they do with our chickens. All right, what was I just going to say? Oh, yeah, a price of a gallon of freaking water is a lot more than a price of the gas now.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's getting crazy out there. And look, everything's going up. Water's going up, gas is going up, food's going up. The price of dying is going up. I mean,
yeah, well, you can't even die and get a funeral out of it,
Hell no, man, because it's cost a shitload just to bury somebody, even cremate someone.
Yeah.
Crap.
I know. I saw someone in chat the other day saying that they wanted a Viking funeral, and I think that's what's going to come down to. Go collect all the dead sticks out of the woods and build yourself a big fat funeral pyre.
Right.
That's the end of that. Ashes to ashes.
Viking death, man.
And put it on a boat, send it out into the sea. Out into Lake Erie, you have burning funeral pyres.
Oh, man.
Did you guys see...
burning funeral pyres and microbeads. Sorry.
Yes, and microbeads all at the bottom of the lake.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Did you guys see... we talked a couple times about Ebola... and then what was that other hemorrhagic dengue fever, right? There was a resurgence in that. And honestly, I really think that all of this is to get everything back in our heads. And I've been seeing, even with the disappearance of that Flight 370 from Indonesia, back when that happened, we had played a bunch of clips to show how they were pushing just the right buttons that were giving you echoes of 9/11, remember? And all the events that were going on around that. And then, of course, the terrorists all came out of it. Now we got terror groups everywhere. I saw we got ISIS and Al-Qaeda and some unknown freaking terror group are now all joining forces. So this is super terrorists. Oh, this was all last night. So check this out. Hold on. I got to pull in... I know the letter I'm looking for. Because I remember my name. Some mornings it's easier than others. Wait, let me just make sure that I'm not streaming sound here. I'm not. Okay. Let me connect.
Because I don't like a country song.
Yeah, it might have been. Country song with a sinus infection. All right, I think we're connected. Yeah. All right, check this out. Tell me, first of all, if this is how stupid our scientists are that are handling these highly virulent materials, I would be afraid, very afraid. But second of all, listen to some of the things that the anchor says. He even mentions 2001. And I don't know. I'm not going to bring that up. Well, let me just play this.
Real scare playing out in Atlanta tonight. The CDC asking how could this happen? One of their own workers making a huge and dangerous mistake, potentially exposing his co-workers to live anthrax. Here's the latest at this hour. Tonight we're learning 75 CDC employees may have been exposed, those workers being treated at this hour, and tonight there's now an investigation underway into how this happened. ABC's chief medical editor, Dr. Richard Besser, who spent many years at the CDC, he got the call today. His source in the lab telling him he was, quote, devastated. And so we lead off with Dr. Besser.
The CDC is telling us tonight that something went terribly wrong. Live anthrax was passed along to labs that weren't equipped to handle it. Between June 6th and the 13th, 75 people without the needed protective gear may have breathed it and become infected. The level 4 biolabs at the CDC in Atlanta handle the deadliest bacteria and viruses in the world, from Ebola to smallpox, where precautions are serious and necessary. In the level 3 labs, scientists and doctors work on such deadly diseases as plague and West Nile, TB and HIV. Tonight, the labs are shut down, sealed, being decontaminated. The Bioterrorism Rapid Response Lab is where anthrax, a bacteria, is handled in its live form. It's that live form of anthrax that somehow got into lower-level labs, where it may have escaped into the air. There's no risk of these 75 workers spreading the disease to others, friends or family, because it isn't spread person to person. But there is real concern for the workers themselves. None of the workers show any symptoms yet, but they're not yet in the clear. Symptoms like fever and chills, shortness of breath, confusion, dizziness, and headache.
I'm going to stop for a second. So, oh, no, it's not pressed person to person, so there's no worry. Well, how about the worry that the CDC Bioterror Lab was sending the stuff to places that wasn't supposed to have it, first of all.
Yeah.
And they didn't follow proper procedures, like nobody knew? I mean, what is
It was
that?
probably on airplanes.
Yeah, or something. I mean, this is horrifying. Guys, I talked about The Stand, that Stephen King book from the 80s or the 70s, that has never left me. That was such a horrifying book, and it started with something dangerous getting out of the CDC.
Uh-huh.
That was how it started. So, all right, let me play a little more.
And, well, look at Plum Island. I mean, you know.
Well, Plum Island, that they've now moved smack dab to the middle of Kansas.
Right.
No,
Tornado Alley.
They stopped that one. They blocked
We just
that.
read that story just recently. Yeah. They did not. They are working on the construction.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Wow.
They came out and they said,
okay.
"Oh, what a dumb idea that was!" But the construction is continuing. That was probably a month ago. We were reading about what's going on in Plum Island. Yeah, they.
I thought
it.
they were trying to block it. Yeah,
they might have
how
been trying
stupid
to,
is
but they didn't. No, right in the middle of the agricultural heartland of the country.
Tornado Alley.
And tornado. Right, that's what the article had said. Right,
remember
tornado.
That's like putting our nuclear plants on earthquake
faults.
Just,
yeah, just like that. Yep.
Wow.
Oh, smart. Okay,
Keep
here, let's
going,
play the
Jules.
rest of this.
If anthrax goes untreated, it has a very high mortality rate, about 85%. Even if you get the right antibiotics, about 40% still die. These workers are all being offered antibiotics for 60 days and the vaccine, just in case. For an organization that works so often with the deadliest diseases on the planet, it's a frightening mistake.
And Dr. Besser's with us now. You made the point there that it's only these workers.
Yeah, I'm going to stop for one more second. So I've told you guys all about the FEMA classes that I took back. It must have been almost close to 8 years ago now, 7.5 years ago. As when Bush was still in office, there was all kinds of Homeland Security funding to train local people on how to prepare for catastrophes.
Right.
And, you know, honestly, now that I've thought a lot about this, I really think that it was just another way to implement fear in people, right? I mean, even though getting prepared makes you not afraid, and that was why I took it, the fact that they were preparing you for some grand scale emergency just adds to the fear. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was after the Katrina, I believe, and all of that horror that happened down there, and nobody was really prepared, and you know, they were all sitting there waiting for first responders that sometimes abandon their post, you know. So the whole thought was they used the CERT program, which is LAPD or LAFD, the fire department. They were the ones that came up with that in regards to how to combat wildfires. That was their whole program for teaching preparedness. So anyway, long story short, I continued in on that program, and that what spun out of that was this whole federal preparedness plan for bioterror attacks. And every community, just so you know, in the United States, and it probably revolves around your high school, has a pandemic plan in place. And there are members of your town who have been designated as like communications manager and, you know, logistics manager, and it's all set up like very military too. We got a command and control education about how that all works, and everybody's got a job, but we were trained to dispense antibiotics such as Cipro to our entire town. We did demos, we did trials, you know, where we did the tabletop exercises. Everyone had their role for anthrax. Just so you know.
Interesting.
They had trained us for this already 7 years ago.
That's definitely saying something right
It
there.
is.
I think.
They train, all the towns got it. And we did, I mean, there was one where we did this whole regional event with this whole area in Rochester around one of the big cities, and they had like 1,000 people, and coming in, and logistics, and how the traffic patterns, and how to get people in and out. We weren't giving injections, though there is an entire medical staff that's signed up through all the hospitals to be available, and they were going to do just-in-time training with people like me, which I don't get any of those emails anymore, by the way. I think they figured me out. I used to get emails about the meetings. I don't get any of them anymore.
Oh, man.
They probably surveilled me and said, "Oh, look at that. She's one of those. Take her off the mailing list. Put her on the red list. We've been infiltrated."
Right.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
It was
Well,
you.
it's kind of like it's foreknowledge, perhaps. It's foreknowledge, I'll say.
I'm just pointing out, they were training us for this. My daughter was about 6 months old, so she's now 8. So it must have been 7. I mean, she was 6 months old, so she must have been about 7. Must have been 7.5 years ago that we got this training.
George Bush was already on Cipro, like, before 9/11. They had put him on there because of this anticipation of that anthrax and being sent in those letters back then, too.
Oh.
So,
well, I think this is... I'm pretty sure this is the clip that they mention, and maybe not because there's 3 or 4 of them, but in one of these clips, they come out specifically and say, we haven't heard much about this since 2001, where there were biotech. And I was like, what? You are not doing 2001 9/11 flashbacks, are you really?
I think they are, dude. They really, it's sick.
They're activating that fear sensor. And, well, here, so let's play the last, there's about 40 seconds left of this.
Not their families, not their neighbors. But why is that?
Well, you have to breathe it in to get sick. Rarely you can get it from contaminated clothing, but I learned tonight that the outer clothes were all left in the lab.
But you've been talking to your sources, and they are concerned about the workers.
Yeah, this is a very unusual organism. It can live in your body for 60 days, and then it can infect you. That infection can be deadly. That's why 60 days of antibiotics plus a vaccine.
In the meantime, Rich, the bigger picture here, people are going to say this is one of the most dangerous labs in the country. How does a mistake like this happen?
I mean, this is one of the world's premier labs, and I spoke with them, and they are absolutely devastated. So they're going to look to see how did this happen, and I think there are probably going to be some outside eyes looking at that as well.
But I mean, how many times is stuff like this going to happen? Look at the WIP facility in New Mexico. This, the plutonium from the Manhattan Project that's being stored there should have never have gotten out.
Exactly.
And it's still spewing out, and they're not quite sure still what's going on. They think it was switching from the clay kitty litter to the green kitty litter. And I just saw something the other day. They really, really are afraid that there are those other containers out there that are all going to explode, and they're never going to be able to open WIMP. And that Texas facility that they moved a lot of the stuff to before they learned about the explosive containers is now expanding.
No.
They're expanding, and it's all open air storage right now.
Oh, nice. Yeah. How wonderful is that?
I mean, they really, if they wanted to set us up for, like, major shit, talk about prepper and prepping for things and being prepared. I've been doing that for a lot of years, just running things through my head since, I would say since 1999 with the Y2K stuff, but then 2001, it really got there because I never even thought of terrorists back in 99, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. At least on the homeland. But then they got me, running all these scenarios through my head as to how they could get us next and what could they do that could take us down and blah, blah, blah. And it's like they're putting all that stuff now into play because it never happened. It never happened, but it could.
It's part of the trauma-based mind control.
I think so. I really do. And so is this whole shooting, now connecting them with dotted lines to terrorists, radicalization over the internet, the Department of Homeland Security for domestic terror. We are creating impressions utilizing past trauma that they have imprinted upon us.
This is how they do it. This is the tactics they use.
Yeah. So
open up those old wounds. You know what I mean?
That's what they're doing. Yeah, that's scar tissue that they are now ripping open again.
Yes.
Yeah, they like falling back on it.
Let me play this one too. And while this one is playing, I'm going to fill up my cup. I get the air conditioner on in here because it's always so hot in the morning. But it also makes my coffee get cold really quick. And it's not pleasant to drink when it's like room temperature with an air conditioner. Only if it's got ice and lots of sugar in it. And a shot of hazelnut. And it's called iced coffee and fresh, not like an hour and a half old and cold. All right, here. Will ISIS and Al-Qaeda join forces? And I'm pretty sure that in this clip they even mention another group that I was like, who the hell are they? Like every day they're coming up with some new terror group that is terrorizing another part of the world. And now they're starting to merge. Tell me if that is not the worst possible case scenario.
That was probably the ever intended scenario.
I think so. And they all hate us with a passion. All right, here.
Yemeni officials call it a nightmare scenario. The possibility that Al-Qaeda's most fearsome branch, Yemen's Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, or AQAP, could join ISIS in Iraq. They point to this audio message posted on YouTube earlier this week. In it, a man, purported to be Ma'mun Hatem, a top AQAP commander from Yemen, repeatedly congratulates ISIS and its leadership on its victories in Iraq. Yemeni government sources tell CNN that members of AQAP are fighting alongside ISIS in Iraq. A U.S. defense official says there is no indication that AQAP has joined with ISIS in Iraq, but the official did say that there are foreign fighters and Sunni militants who are with ISIS there. Hatem, who has more than 30,000 followers on Twitter, posts others' messages of support for ISIS, like this video from jihadists in Indonesia, singing the praises of ISIS. Analysts warn any alliance between the two groups could prove extremely dangerous.
Each group's weaknesses could be filled by the other group. Say one group is very good at bomb making, and another group is very good at propaganda. If you put the right bomb in the right place for the right propaganda effect, that can be far more important than either of these things on their own.
Yemen is currently on the front line of a war on terror with Al-Qaeda. The U.S. Embassy there has been shut down for almost 2 months. Despite a massive American-backed counter-terror offensive that began in April, AQAP has proven resilient and resurgent. Since 2011, AQAP has even been able to take over areas of Yemen. ISIS is making similar gains in Iraq. And analysts say the more territory taken by ISIS and the more the group works with AQAP, the worse it'll get.
If they carve out an area of safe haven, and that's their intent, this could be a launching point for attacks on America, on the West, really attacks globally.
Now, two things. I've never heard them mention AQAP before. Have you?
No.
So in Yemen, we've been drone bombing Yemen for quite a while, but I haven't heard who we were bombing, and I never heard them called AQAP. So I'm glad that they all have these new names. But secondly, that dude that was talking as an authority at the end happened to be from the Rand Corporation.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yes, so good thing that they're paying attention to the trends.
Or setting the trends.
Yes, right. That's what I was thinking.
Hey. God, I just kept thinking that while that guy was talking. Okay, you should know, dude.
Yep, you should know all the details.
That's right. Unfreaking believable. And it is opening up old scars. So now people who are Islamophobics out there, and I know plenty of them, believe me, they're all just losing their freaking minds right now.
Well, and they started that with 2001. They started that with 9/11.
That's right.
And then Obama getting elected, if you remember. There was a lot of that too.
Yeah,
and I don't know, man. I just think that this really, when I look at it, it's almost as if they are trying to activate everything that Bush and Cheney did. Like,
Yeah.
got it ready to rock and roll. And then, did you guys see, there was a posting yesterday, and I don't put a lot of stock into these, but I've seen it now from a couple sources, so I guess pay attention. There was a listing, apparently on Craigslist, and who knows, but I've seen it in a few other places where they're looking for crisis actors for 4th of July weekend in Houston, Texas.
That's good that you saw that, man. That could be very significant.
Yeah, there were a few people that actually had shared the story, but I thought then, I saw it from some, small publication, but then I thought I saw something from RT late last night, so I'd have to look at that. But regardless, I guess just a heads up, right?
Yeah, Houston.
And 4th of July weekend, I mean, wouldn't that be an exclamation point?
Sure, absolutely.
For them to start, to declare a state of emergency and start rolling in the tanks. And there was something yesterday, I saw a picture in North Carolina. There have been all kinds of movements going on, and I guess there was an entire caravan of tanks yesterday.
Really?
Wow.
But I don't know. Honestly, I haven't paid a lot of attention to that stuff because...
Well, that's something we need to pay attention to, because when you see movement like that, that usually means something's up somewhere.
Right. But I'm just saying that, you're typically not going to see that stuff out of mainstream. So,
Right.
Not that mainstream is to be believed, but... you also have enough hoaxsters out there that will recycle pictures and say they're from one place and they were really from another. So just saying heads up. That's all. And, wouldn't 4th of July really make a statement if that was the day that something happened and they declared martial law?
Yeah, absolutely. It's symbolizing the shutting down of the Constitution.
Of liberty, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so... I don't know. It seemed to me like something. I mean, good thing I'm not going to be around 4th of July. I already got me some plans.
Cool.
I'll be in position. Yeah, but no, I mean, we already had stuff that we were doing, but I will not be here. So if it goes down, I'll at least be out of populace.
Good for you. It's awesome.
So has anyone been paying attention to what is going on in Iraq at the moment?
Well, we're sending advisors over, but,
with guns.
Yeah, with guns. But they're not going to get involved. They're just going to advise.
Yeah, and they're Green Berets.
Yeah, Green Berets, right.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I do
Just observers, huh? Sure.
Yeah, we're just going to go over and tell them how to do it right. Like,
right.
I don't know. It's crazy. And then he bypassed, and he bypassed Congress again. I mean...
Well, he said he didn't need authorization.
Right.
And
but
really?
To send troops somewhere? Yes, he does. I mean, by the Constitution, but we know he doesn't. I mean, that's just a piece of paper to him to be ignored.
Well, they are also calling for a new constitutional convention. That was a news story from 2 days ago.
That's scary.
Yeah, that's real scary, especially considering the whack jobs that we have in Senate and Congress.
That's
I
right.
don't want those people making decisions. No, they're not standing up for us.
No. And that's been something that I've been dreading, is for them to hold a constitutional convention.
I can sit down and find that because I thought that was pretty horrifying, and nobody thought that was interesting news. I'm like, man, you people are just so fucking stupid sometimes.
God, that's one of
they don't even know what it is.
Yeah, they don't know what it is. That drowning squirrel got 108,000 views for the video, and I can't, let me find it, because I could guarantee you maybe if we were lucky, there were 30 views on the Constitutional Convention video.
Oh my God.
No one gives two shits. They're like,
Right.
What's that?
I don't get involved in politics. That line just drives me nuts.
Well, I used to live by that, and you know what? that was the worst thing I could have done, because all of this has been happening behind the curtain because I didn't get involved in politics. I didn't understand the history. I didn't pay attention to the craziness, you know?
If you're an American citizen, it's your responsibility to pay attention to politics.
It's not
boring. And that's where we failed.
It used to be boring. Now it's like everyone fucking each other over.
Well, they always have been, but you weren't watching.
Right, I wasn't watching.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm scrolling. There's lots of ISIS stuff here, but
I bet. I bet you Pigmine's totally on it.
Oh God, there's so much, and you know they are just pounding ISIS into everybody's heads.
Yep. You know, it's the new. You know, Al Qaeda, so we can have another organization to be scared to death of. They're going to come over here and kill us all.
Well, it's not just Al Qaeda. It's like now they're coming out with, I mean, in every country, there's a new name for a new group. It's a splinter group. Was that the one I told you guys I was running up to get coffee, but was that the clip where they were showing that all the other terrorist groups are cheering on these terror groups and they're all excited? And that's what I was saying the other day. Now, what's interesting about that is, remember, Al-Qaeda in Pakistan, which is some of the original Al-Qaeda-esque groups that we heard about. Al-Qaeda in Pakistan was disavowing having anything to do with those Al-Qaeda in Iraq, right? So now you have this Yemeni Al-Qaeda, which I don't even remember the acronym for them, but ones that we never heard of, right? They just popped out of the blue. So this Yemeni Al-Qaeda that pops out of the blue is now cheering on the Al-Qaeda in Iraq that the real Al-Qaeda want nothing to do with, and they're joining forces with them? Come on. That's freaking bullshit. So we get another out-of-the-blue Al-Qaeda group who's
with
now...
all new equipment.
All new equipment, yep. High dollar value and high production value for propaganda videos. Now they're going to join forces with the black sheep Al-Qaeda that just appeared.
Right. And while we're watching all this that's being pounded over the news and everything, our law enforcement are militarizing up to attack us.
Oh my God, there were so many stories yesterday of people getting shot in handcuffs, face down. The feds are coming in, which I was like, come on, the Department of Justice. Yeah. But they're going to come in and take over the Albuquerque Police Department. Did you see that?
So they want to get in on the killing too. Come on.
Here, wait, let me just, actually, maybe...
Wow, that's crazy and
maybe let's play that first, and while that is playing...
I can't believe all this shit happening at once. I knew
it's all happening at once. It is.
It's multi-pronged, multifaceted, bam!
It's a massive attack right now, and I would say...
When you get everything looking at one spot, that's the time. You better start looking at home.
Yeah, I'm saying pay attention now, because they're pulling out every freaking stop right now.
Right now.
Yep. All right, here, let me play the Albuquerque one about the Department of Justice coming in, and while that's playing, I am going to find that Constitutional Convention clip. All right, here.
Tonight, an out-front investigation, American Police Department is under fire for responding to threats with bullets. Dozens have been killed by cops in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and now the Justice Department is getting involved. One video you're about to see shows why. I'm going to warn you, it's disturbing. Drew Griffin reports.
What you're about to see is horrific. This mentally disturbed homeless man, illegally camping in the hills above Albuquerque, New Mexico, will soon fall victim to police bullets.
I'm telling you this evening. I am Department of Defense.
The justification for the shooting, according to police, those two small camping knives in his hands. After hours of negotiations and surrounded by heavily armed officers, James Boyd agrees to leave. Then suddenly, this.
Gun! Gun!
A flash grenade. Boyd turns his back. Police open fire. 3 shots. As he gasps for breath, police sick a dog on his leg.
Beanbag! Beanbag!
They fire beanbags at his arms. Then handcuff him as you hear the 38-year-old man slowly wheezing. Boyd was slowly dying. The next day in a hospital, James Boyd became the 26th person in the last 4 years to die after being shot by Albuquerque police. The autopsy revealed he was shot in the back, a homicide. Boyd's is not the only questionable killing here. 27-year-old Christopher Torres, a schizophrenic who lived with his parents, was shot and killed in his pajamas in his own backyard when two plainclothes police officers hopped this fence to serve a road rage warrant on him. Officers claim he was armed and shot him in the back.
They encountered Christopher in his side yard. At most, he's holding a broom.
He had a broomstick, but he laid the broomstick down, and had no weapons. Was backing up from the officers when they attacked him.
Stephen and Renata Torres sued the police department on behalf of their son and won. A judge awarded them a $6 million civil judgment.
What happened to the two officers that killed your son?
They got, 3-4 days paid vacation.
Are they still on the force?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Despite...
I'm going to stop for a second. They're still on the force.
Yeah.
Take vacation.
The guy had a broomstick, and he was in his pajamas in his backyard. Yeah, and he put it down. All right, a little bit more.
$30 million in judgments against the city, and an officer-involved shooting rate twice that of Chicago, 8 times that of New York. Not a single Albuquerque police officer has even been charged, let alone convicted, of using excessive force in the last 30 years. Not one. District Attorney Gary Brandenburg cleared the two officers who killed Christopher Torres, just as she has cleared every other police shooting in the city during her last 13 years in office. Her explanation in a news conference: she can only believe what the police tell her.
Do I understand this right? Nobody from this department actually went out and talked to these two officers? You relied on the statements that these officers wrote up after the incident?
So we have to rely on police reports. That's what we have to rely on. We're not an investigative agency.
Gordon Eden is Albuquerque's new police chief. His job is to change the culture here. That came into question just days after he joined the force and sided with the officers in the James Boyd shooting.
I spoke prematurely, and I shouldn't have.
There has not been a single prosecution of a police officer. And from what I understand, there might not have been any discipline doled out to a police officer.
I can only speak to since I've been here. I can't speak at all to what has happened in the past. But I can assure you that through the changes that we've made in our internal affairs process, we're holding people to a higher degree of accountability.
The truth is, Chief Eden and the Albuquerque police have no choice. The U.S. Department of Justice is negotiating the final terms of a consent decree that will place the Albuquerque Police Department under federal supervision.
Now, let's stop for a second. Is that typical?
No.
Under federal supervision.
I'll tell you what.
There's another clip. Let me just interrupt for 1 second. I saw it just as the show started about the FBI and the NYPD after they had disavowed any relationship. I guess there's some big official relationship now.
Oh.
So go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that wouldn't they typically go and investigate that judge who's been making these decisions on behalf of the police agency there? I mean, it seems like that all of a sudden then they'll know they're going the route of taking control of the actual cop shop there, which is like insane. It seems like they should be going after the judge and launching an investigation on the judge.
Well, the other thing, too, is that new chief. Now, he called it a good kill until all of the people, put up a big fuss. So how's he ever going to change anything?
Yeah, he did.
Right, I jumped the gun. Well, you know what? That's because cops are never guilty. And the FBI, of all agencies to put in charge of it, who sets up more people?
This is the Justice Department.
I see.
Criminal Attorney General Eric Holder's group.
Look at that.
That's right.
Even better. No, that's with the NYPD. We can look at that next.
Yeah, but
But here, so there's about another minute and a half of this.
Okay.
So, Drew, that video, just here in the studio watching that, everybody's jaws were dropping. I mean, it was horrific. It appears to be so cold-blooded. They negotiated for hours. Then he turns his back and they start shooting. He's clearly mentally ill. The dog being sicked on his leg. I mean, it's horrible. You hear him dying. Is there any explanation that we could be missing for why all these police would have done that?
In our interview with the police chief, I asked him specifically, Aaron, tell me, what am I missing here? What am I not seeing? He didn't offer anything other than to say, wait for the investigation to be completed. There are actually 2 investigations, Aaron. One by his department, which, quite frankly, many people in Albuquerque simply do not trust. The other, though, is the FBI, which in a statement would only say it wants to assure a thorough and fair investigation. Both these investigations could take months.
And now you've got months going on, and of course this happened in the past. I mean, are those officers still working? They still have jobs?
The 3 main officers were involved in that video portion. There were dozens of other officers there.
Right.
But of these 3, 2 of them are back on the force. They are on desk duty. A 3rd officer remains on leave. We believe they're all still getting paid.
And so what would happen, Drew, if there's a federal takeover? What does that mean?
That means an actual person from the Department of Justice will basically go in, set up shop inside the police department, presumably next to the police chief, and oversee, monitor the entire department and make sure that whatever kind of regulations that Justice came up with, that the Albuquerque police are following to a T.
Right.
Bullshit. Internal. You always hear internal. So sick of that. It should be independent investigations, period.
Yeah, I don't like this at all. Is this going to be, so Albuquerque is going to be the new high-tech surveillance city, I bet?
Yeah, the staging ground.
I'm sure they have tanks and they're militarizing them all. It's insanity.
We're bringing feds into local law enforcement.
Yep.
Yeah, this is not cool, guys. It is not cool.
And they're famous for setting people up. How many times have you heard where they set someone up and then busted them?
Well, right. We talked about that last week. There were so many of them. And I don't know if you were on that day. I'll have to drop you the story. I just reshared it again because I can't believe it. But Fast and Furious, that judge ruled against Eric Holder and the whole, some guys that were actually caught in the stings. He ruled in their favor because he specifically came out and said that those ATF stings were orchestrated crimes by the feds to set people up. But after these guys were found innocent through the fact that it was a setup, they are appealing. And they're still holding them in jail, weren't they?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty nuts.
Yeah, and so we put them in charge of a corrupt police
Right,
department.
they're corrupt to begin with, and we put them in charge of a corrupt police force, yes. So that makes a lot of sense. Here, before we run out of time, I got a couple more little clips. So this is in El Paso. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. I saw that this has been making the rounds.
A man is handcuffed, shot and killed by police. The entire incident caught on camera. But no charges handed down by the grand jury. How can this be? How can this happen? Well, the answer is in the video itself. Watching it closely, understanding the context, makes the grand jury's decision a lot easier to understand.
El Paso police arrested Daniel Saenz on March 8th of 2013 on charges he attacked an off-duty officer at Del Sol Medical Center. The video begins with Saenz shirtless, his hands cuffed behind his back, and being dragged by a prison transport guard and El Paso police officer Jose Flores. Saenz was being taken to a hospital for treatment after repeatedly banging his head against a doorway inside the jail. Once outside, the struggle continues. The Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas, also known as CLEAT, released a statement regarding the video. CLEAT says after a long struggle with Saenz, Officer Flores initially reached for his taser. However, according to CLEAT, Saenz had already been tased 5 times earlier that day with little to no effect. Flores then pulled his handgun. Cleat says the unidentified prison guard with Flores accidentally hit that gun, causing it to fire and strike Saenz in the left shoulder. Flores then goes back to Saenz, restrains him, and later begins to perform CPR. An autopsy revealed the bullet went through his shoulder and lodged into his chest. The autopsy also found Saenz had a chemical in his body, which is also found in bath salts. Back in February, the case was presented to the grand jury, which decided against charging Officer Flores with a crime.
And a lot of controversy surrounding this one. A lot of people online outraged that a police officer can shoot and kill someone who's handcuffed, and the grand jury listen to the evidence and say, hey, no charges in this case. But what you really have to do in this case, that's why I brought in Mike Brooks, is break down this video, take a look at what's happening, and take a look at some of the context involved here. So, Mike, let's start here by rolling the videotape as we take a look at it here and what we're seeing. And right here, this is a guy, right, who had already assaulted a police officer and is in custody, banging his head against the wall. So now they're trying to get him and transport him.
Right, and he's being totally non-compliant, Vinny, and they have him double cuffed because he was so bulky. They put two sets of handcuffs together so that he could, remain handcuffed because just one set was too close together behind his back.
Here now he's dragged out, and this is where things start to get dangerous.
Right, the transport officer here, every time another officer transport him, then you got to do another search just to make sure there's no weapons.
And here he's doing that. And here you see the resisting, and he's going down. They found traces of bath salts in his system. But again, they're having a lot of difficulty controlling this bodybuilder.
Yeah, because he's big, he's bulky, he's strong. He pushed off with his legs, and he's totally non-compliant.
Okay, and again, the struggle is continuing here. And you have to understand, this part right here, if you look at it, this is a curb right here.
Right.
Okay, so keep that in mind as you watch what's happening. And at this point, you can see that he's reaching for the taser, now reaches for the gun, and that's when the gun is discharged at that moment.
Exactly. He's right-handed, so your taser would be on your left side, cross-draw, but he tried to reach around, with his other hand.
We've got a freeze frame of him trying to reach for that taser. I want to put that up on the board if we can. Do we have it? I think we have it. There it is. Okay, so this is more of a close-up. And this is and you see the taser is on this side, right?
Right, and he's trying to reach for it with his left hand because it's positioned in a cross-draw fashion, so you reach across with your strong hand because he's right-handed, because you see that's where he wears his pistol on his right side. So he wasn't reaching there, he's reaching with his left hand, trying to get it out, and it's very hard to get it out from that angle with your opposite hand.
Now, the other part of this, and what his attorney has said, is that at that moment he's remembering, and this is a guy who, when he was initially apprehended, was tasered 5 times to no avail.
To no avail, probably because of the chemical that's in the bath salts. He's hallucinogenic. It's a hallucinogenic.
It's a zombie drug.
Almost like phencyclidine, PCP, very, very strong. Makes you even stronger. And being a bodybuilder, he's probably stronger than both those two guys put together.
All right, so unable to draw his taser, he then draws his gun. Now, let's take a look at the next freeze frame, because this is significant, because a couple things are happening here. First, I want everyone to look here. This is the curb here. Just before this moment, the suspect at the time, now the victim of the shooting, is pushing off the curb and ends up pushing this officer off of him, and he falls backwards. And as he is falling, as he is falling backwards this way, he comes in contact with the officer's gun, who was holding the gun and pointing it at the suspect, now the victim of the shooting, and that's when the gun discharges.
I'm miffed here, because I don't know why he would pull his gun anyway. Because when you pull that gun, Vinny, when you pull your weapon, you're saying I am prepared to use deadly force against this subject. Now, when he pulled his gun out of the holster, his finger went right to the trigger housing, went right into the trigger housing instead of just alongside like you would normally have it, and that's why when.
Keep your finger off the booger hook, isn't that what
That's right.
says?
Exactly.
Yeah, and a cop should know that.
That's freaking 101 in cop training. Come on.
I'm going to play just a little bit more of this.
The transport officer.
So is that where the mistake is made here? Because this officer is thrown off the suspect shooting victim,
right,
and then bumps into the gun, which causes the firing of the gun. But is the mistake putting your finger on the trigger rather than putting it on the side as you draw it out?
Well, I feel the first mistake was pulling his gun to begin with. Exactly.
In this situation.
Exactly. Did he have pepper spray? Did he try using pepper spray on this person? We don't know. And but he pulled his gun nonetheless, and his finger went right to the trigger housing, and that's when the other transport officer bumped against him. That's when the gun went off. You know, so you call it an accidental discharge. Yes, there's probably an accidental shooting because you probably didn't mean to shoot the person. But why did you pull the weapon out to begin with?
All right, so 2 ways it could have been prevented. One, not pulling the weapon out, and number 2, when he did pull the weapon out, not have your finger immediately on the trigger unless you were ready to shoot at that moment.
Exactly. Because, you know, when you pull your weapon out and let's say you're doing a search of a home, I'm searching with my finger right alongside trigger because that's the way you train. That's the way you train. Unless you have your finger right in when you're ready to shoot somebody, you know, it's just a millisecond to put your finger in the trigger housing.
All right, Mike, so...
All right, so we're going to stop there because then they do this illustration and whatever. It's like a 10-minute video, but...
they were ready to kill, period.
They were ready to kill, and what was disturbing about that is that this guy was in double handcuffs. What was he going to do, bite their ankles?
Right. You know? There's no justification there, but what do? They justify and they find every angle possible.
I don't give a rat's ass if the guy was a bodybuilder. You know what I mean? The dude was, like, restrained.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 or 3 guys could have got on there and totally straddled his. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, and he was on bath salts. I could tell you, I've heard all kinds of first-person stories of psycho zombie behavior from that stuff. But you know what? On the flip side, why wasn't this guy in some sort of padded room then to begin with? If he was smashing his head into a wall and he was that out of control,
right.
You know. I don't know. To me,
why didn't they sedate him? If nothing else, sedate him.
Well, don't most police shops have like? Don't they have that chair that they strap them into for their protection? Yeah,
for their protection. It just, to me, then the fact that the grand jury said that, you know, it was an accidental shooting.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Why people got to get involved in their grand juries. If you don't like what's going on, I didn't make it this year. I'm going to apply again next year. But yeah, you got to get in there where you have the power instead of these people that have this thing in their head that police are like gods. They do no wrong.
And remember, it's all setting precedent.
Yes.
You know, here
I want the most important thing.
I want to play one more. This one I missed yesterday, so I'm not really sure what this is about. But this whole connection with the Homeland Security, Homeland terrorism, I see that 2 men in Texas were arrested on terrorism charges. I'd like to find out why.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, let's check it out, because I'm sure that we're going to start seeing a lot of that.
2 Central Texas men have been separately accused of trying to support terrorist efforts in Syria and Somalia. Authorities arrested Michael Todd Wolf at a Houston airport Monday as he was allegedly planning to travel to Syria and join an al-Qaeda splinter group leading militants in Iraq. On Tuesday, FBI agents raided the suburban home near Austin, arresting University of Texas student Rahatul Khan.
I got to hear about 6, and that's when we saw the FBI trucks still here, and we saw him taking boxes of information.
You know, this is not the first university student that has been arrested for terrorism charges when they were going to an airport.
Right.
No.
And you know, I'll guarantee you that somewhere in here they're going to tell you that he was radicalized via the internet.
And they can read his mind, you know, they
Yeah,
know what his thoughts were.
Apparently, but he didn't do anything. At least in the other case. Well, let's hear the rest of this, because this is very bothersome.
Out of the home.
Khan is accused of trying to recruit an FBI informant to join insurgents fighting in Somalia. According to a federal complaint, he discussed guns, training, the war on Islam, his preparation for the Third World War, shooting, and getting the youth interested in the knowledge of jihad. An imam who knew both men expressed his surprise at the arrests.
It's really sad hearing about what happened. And we'll let the justice system make the call on it.
And I think right now it's a bit too premature to make any sort of statement.
Both men face up to 15 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000 if convicted. Maggie Mazzetti, Associated Press.
Wow. But they were just talking.
Right. That's conspiracy.
Got a plane ticket.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, your thought police.
Are we conspiracists?
Yeah, because we are,
Because we talk?
Right.
No,
That's what
anytime.
conspiracy is.
Anytime, you know what? In all these cases, anytime you hear that they've been talking to FBI informants, that just throws it all out the window for me. The whole damn thing is a setup, just like all the rest of them are in every freaking case. I mean, it's just when the FBI is involved in it, throw it out the window. I mean, this whole thing is just a sham, scam. Thank you, man. I can't stand it anymore.
And you notice how all the neighbors go, wow, he was a nice guy. I had no idea,
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
These bastards.
Be afraid, because guess what? Your next door neighbor could be a terrorist.
Exactly.
Everybody be afraid.
And
see something, say something.
Them. I mean, I'm wondering how they overheard them. Did they hear them through, turning on their phone, or
informant? He got him to talk. He got him to say a bunch of shit. I mean, this is the same crap they always do. They always do it. And you know what I mean? It's half the time it's the FBI making up all this bullshit.
Right, and that's what that judge concluded in regards to the ATF and Fast and Furious.
Right.
That it was all orchestrated bullshit crimes that they convinced these guys to get involved in.
And then is this criminal Holder still in his job?
Yeah, he's still in his job, and now his department's going to start taking over local police departments.
Yeah, that's good, huh? All to keep us safe. Don't you
Here
feel
it comes. That's all I got to say, man.
Safe. I feel real safe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, we whacked out another one, if you can believe it.
It's amazing.
It's amazing how that happens.
I'm rocking too. Thank you, by the way. I am rocking. I just caught myself. I went, what am I doing? I'm rocking.
I caught myself doing that last night when I was watching these videos.
I know.
No.
Now, it happens so often now, I don't even notice that I'm rocking.
Oh, right. Look out, Zori. The thought police are going to come get you.
Yeah, they'll see me in my car rocking. They'll go, oh, she's having bad thoughts. Go get her.
She needs drugs.
Yeah.
Put her on some sort of psychotropics. Well,
go nuts, huh?
It's Friday, guys. So, as we say just about every Friday, make sure you have a beer or do something today.
Celebrate your summer day tomorrow.
Celebrate, yes, the first day of summer solstice. It's 6:21, I think you said.
6:21
a.m. Make sure you guys stick around. We got all kinds of good stuff tonight. Josh is on. Jimmy Funke. Actually, who's sitting in for Jimmy tonight? Jimmy is not going to be around. I think it's going to be Chuck, and someone else is going to sit in for Jimmy tonight. Truth on the Tracks with Brandon, Prepper Chicks, Random Replay, which next week, that is going to be the United Front Against Austerity's new slot, Monday and Friday at 10, and then Anti-Media with Levon at 11 p.m. Eastern. So everybody have a great, great weekend. Ladies, thank you so much for hanging out today.
Thank you.
Everybody listening. Sure, I'll see you guys this week in chat. I don't know if I'll have the ability to do voice, but I will pop in and say hello.
All right, have fun, guys. Bye.
And be careful out there. Stay away from the thought police. All right, take care.